Shalom. Call Haloyamla, Yahapwa, Bahasham, Yahapashai, Bahasham, Rakha Kudash. Barakta Yahapwa, Barakta Yahapashai, Barakta Rakha Kudash, Bahasham, Yahapashai, Bahasham, Rakha Kudash. Shalom and double honors unto the elder apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elders in the Akim and the Akwat of the hopeful elect. Shalom. I want to go into a quick video entitled Woe. Woe means destruction to wicked rulers. Now I was reading the book of Micah chapter 2, and you know how the spirit goes. I read it, the precepts get to flowing, and then it led to a lesson. So Lord willing, this video is edifying. So we'll go ahead and begin in the book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 10 and verse 2. It reads, "As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers," meaning, the head of a nation, the people are going to be the same way. Or like in the military, the general, as the general is and how he leads, that's how his soldiers are going to be. And his officers, right? So continuing, it says, "And what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein." So that goes into however the head of the people are, the people will follow suit and be a reflection of the rulership. So when you look around, what's going on? You see how wicked society is, and why are the people? You can't blame the people. Well, you can blame the people. Every man must stand accountable for their own actions in the day of judgment. But they're behaving in an environment that was created by the rulers. The rulers conduct and concoct the systematic structure and foundation which creates the society and environment and surroundings of the people. And then the people enact based off what they see and what they're fed from their government, right? So that's why the people are that's why it's a cold world, because the government pushes this evil, wicked, Satanist vibration, right? So woe unto them, because they're doing it upon their own understanding, which is of Satan, and they will be destroyed in the end thereof. Going to Job chapter 30 and verse 8. And this is why. It says, "They were children of fools. Yeah, children of base men." You know what the base is? Like the basement, the very bottom, the lowest point of your house. And the very lowest of society are these Edomites, the so-called white race. "They were viler than the earth." And that's what that viler means, going into the worst. They're the complete dregs, the complete most filth ridden, undesirable people on the earth. So that's who the so-called white race are. Because why? All you have to do, don't take my word, don't get mad at me, right? Because all you have to do is look around. Look at TV, internet, radio, the filth that comes through the radio. You got to change your channel whenever you hear this stuff, because it's complete garbage, right? And it's a death culture that they're pushing through the radio, and then Hollywood and the movies. Purely evil, right? And so now going to Micah chapter 2 and verse 1. See, because right here, the subject, even the Esau Edom that titled this, they know oppressors. And who's being oppressed? The children of Israel, the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. And our oppressors. So woe means destruction. And that goes hand in hand with the title. That's the spirit right there. So 2 and 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity. So devise meaning they create iniquity. Iniquity is sin and wickedness. We know the white race creates all the wickedness in the earth that we see today. And work evil upon their beds, because beds is also synonymous with rest. And they're in their heaven right now. The so-called white rulers, the Edomites, they're in their beds. They're at peace. This is their heaven, their rulership right now today. They're working all this wickedness, and how they do that? Through the World Economic Forum, through the Bilderberg meetings, when they when they call the presidential candidates to their secret meetings to let them know who they will select for the president, and that's the shadow government, aka the Illuminati. And then also the Bohemian Grove over there in the outskirts of northern San Francisco, where they have this Bohemian Grove meeting, where it's a big, giant, massive owl made of wood, and it's basically going back to the Owl of Molech, which is Baal, going all the way back to Nimrod, which goes all the way back to the Babylonian wicked rulership. This is a very evil, wicked rulership, and these are the principalities on the left hand side at the highest level under Satan, the so-called white race, the Edomites. So one again, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds, when the morning is light. So why I say when the morning is light, that means that they're doing this at nighttime. And also, what happens when we're on our beds? When do we lay on our beds at nighttime? But they're doing their evil wickedness in the middle of the night. So that's them devising. They have their midnight into the wee hours of the morning. They have their meetings late at night, and that's when the power of their sorcery is at full work. They having their think tanks, right? When the morning is light, they practice it. They put it into act when day breaks. Because why? Because it is in the power of their hand. Because why? The earth is given into their hands right now. So going to First Maccabees, the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 9, because this all began and increased when the so-called white race came into rulership. Verse 9, and after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. After whose death? Alexander the so-called Great. And he had 4 generals that he was close with in his army, that when they were conquering, he got real close with 4 generals, and he divided up his kingdom into 4 generals in his Greek army, which are the Edomites. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth, because during the Greeks, they still was going by that traditional, their fathers would rule in the stead. Their sons would rule in the stead of their fathers. When that father died, then their sons would assume their role and rule. And then the Romans, that was the 4th beast. And they were different from all the other beasts before them. And they would all begin electing their rulers instead of having the rulers go down through the bloodline of their father, right? So that's another topic, but just touch on that real quick. So, and that's the key. And evils were multiplied in the earth. Evils were multiplied in the earth. So it was wickedness around, but the origins and the greatest form of wickedness is pushed through the Edomites, the so-called white race, when they became in rule as the Greeks and the Romans. And so the book of Job, chapter 9 and verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. And that's why everything is a cold, hard world, and everybody's impatient and they're rage filled, right? Just go out there and drive around for a little while. You'll see how much rage is behind, have that road rage, and you see how evil people are and how cold people are. They won't let you in. You're trying to get out into the street and they won't let you go. And if you try to go, they might blow at you, get angry. But these same cowards, when you see them, if the same cowards in the store, they're totally calm and chill. But when they get behind the wheel, they the baddest dude on the earth, right? Yeah, these cowards, man. But so the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So if the so-called white race, the Edomites, are not covering the faces of the judges, who are the judges? The Almighty Judge and King of the earth, of everything, of the universe, of creation, is Yahweh, the Almighty Power. And then everything's been inherited by and and Yahweh gave everything into the hands of Yahweh Shai, his only begotten Son, to rule forever for eternity in the kingdom of heaven. And then with him, what did the Messiah say to the 12 disciples? That you will be on 12 thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And those are others also lesser judges. It's all in order and the proper hierarchy. And then the 144,000 of the elect of Israel, and then the rest of the 1/3 body. And then the angels. So that's the judges. And how did they cover the faces? By whitewashing everything. The so-called white race whitewashed and made everything white, so-called white. So if they didn't do that, how come you have white babies as angels and a white, so-called white God and so-called white Jesus Christ image? Because they crucified the true image of the Messiah. So if the so-called white race didn't do that, then who did? Where is he that did that? So we know that it's the so-called white race that did it. So that's the wicked. That's the wicked upon the earth. So going to Daniel chapter 11 and verse 28. Then shall he return into his own land with great riches. This is speaking about the era of the Greeks when they came into power. They were doing all kind of madness and wickedness. Verse 20, because they were going through the earth and stealing everything and stealing the riches of the earth and slaying kings. Verse 28. Then shall he return into his land with great riches. Why? Because he stole those riches. Because he's a criminal and the thief of the earth. And his heart, and that heart goes into mind, and his mind shall be against the holy covenant. Meaning, who has the covenant? The Israelites. His mind is all, at the end of the day, Esau. He goes and he spoils and robs the other heathen nations. But at the end of the day, his mind is always fixated upon who? The children of the Holy Covenant. And who was that? The Israelites. He always wants to pervert us, the Israelites, so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. And he shall do exploits and return to his own land. So he wants to pervert the Holy Covenant by making us go off from the covenant from the Most High power. And we'll get that real quick in the translation comparison over in the NLT right here. It says the king of the north, the Most High says, the king of the north will then return home with great riches on his way home, right? On the way he will set himself against the people of the Holy Covenant. That's the Israelites, doing much damage before continuing his journey. So the riches, so Esau, he can never have enough. It's not enough that he was already getting riches of the heathen, because his greatest hatred is for the Israelites. That's why cops always slaying brothers in the streets, right? His mind is always, at the end of the day, is always about how can he keep the children of the covenant of the Most High. How can he pollute them and keep them down and keep them wicked and sinning. And in the Good News translation, Daniel 11:28, the king of Syria will return home with all the loot he has captured, stealing from other nations and killing other nations, determined to destroy the religion of Yahweh's people. And who was that? The Israelites. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, the Israelites. He will do as he pleases and then return to his own land. It's not enough that he just took all those riches from the heathen. He has to also, en route to his way back home, he has to stop by the Israelites' home and sow discord and sow confusion and madness and destroy them and stop them from continuing their covenant with the Most High, right? That's how much he hates the Israelites, the so-called white race. So going back, and that also, he was doing that, and that's what began the Hellenization period, when the Israelites became Greeks. And that's where you get the word neither Greek nor Jew, because he was destroying our. That's how neither Greek nor Jew began, is because why? He was destroying our covenant we had with the Most High. by making us go off and lying and smooth talking to persuade them. So First Maccabees 1 and verse 43. Verse 41. Wow. Okay. It says, moreover, King Antiochus, that's that wicked root. He was the main one that began that Hellenization period against the against the Jews. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom. What whole kingdom? When his kingdom stretched out over all the heathen nations, the Greeks, the Greek rulership. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. That's that Babylonian, Nimrod, Tower of Babel spirit, making everybody one people, where all wickedness would come forth from that. Verse 42. And everyone should leave his laws, meaning every nation that had their own customs should leave their customs. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king, and to follow the king and follow the commandment of the Greek king, which is the Greeks, which was led by Antiochus, that wicked root that came out of the Edomites at that time. This is all biblical prophecy, coming forth. And verse 43. Yeah, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, man-made religion by the Edomites. So that's the 2/3 that was following after the wicked heathen, Esau, Edom, and sacrificing to idols and profaned the Sabbath. The Sabbath means rest. So they were not resting on the Sabbath as the Most High had commanded on us. That's one of the top 10 commandments. To do what? Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Slaki. So that's what was going on, and that's what made us become Greeks, living as the Greek heathen. So Galatians, and that's what this verse. And when you have that proper context, then you understand. When you understand the history, you will understand what this verse right here means. Galatians 3:28. There is neither Jew nor Greek. Why? Because of the Hellenization period of Antiochus, making everybody leave their laws, and including the holy children, which were the Israelites, leave our holy covenant to follow after the Greeks, led by Antiochus and other wicked rulers. And that's how we became Hellenized. Like we would be Americanized today, our people are. There is neither bond nor free. There is neither male nor female, for ye are all one in Mashiach Yahushai. So this was Paul letting the Galatians know that we're all the Israelites. We're not divided by nationalities of the heathen, because those Greeks were Gentile, were Jew Gentiles during that Hellenization period from Antiochus, that wicked root of the Edomites. Okay, so from there, we'll go to Micah chapter 2 and verse 2. And they covet fields. That's going into the Edomites are coveting other nations' land and take them by violence. And what do? They see land that they want, and then they go and they take it by war. They'll first lie and do a smear campaign and justify that these people are evil and wicked and they're barbaric and that they deserve to take over their land and destroy them. And so what happens, they go by violence and they create war. They create an excuse to formulate a war against that nation. And then what happens? They destroy them, and then white Jesus pop up over there, right? And homosexuality pops up over there. And houses, and take them away. And then also the women want to rise up and be equal or above the man, and that's what happens with Esau Edom, the cave beasts of the earth. And houses, and take them away, and he take away a man's place. He take away a man's nationality and his land, and he takes over and he rules it. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. And that started first over here, and that happened over here. When Columbus touched down, it started with Columbus and all of his other brothers that followed him that came to the Americas. the so-called Americas. So we'll get yeah. So Genesis 49:19. Gad. Gad are the so-called Native American Indians. Gad, a troop. Troop means an army. The army of the Spanish and also the other different Edomite tribes, which was the French and the Spanish, the French, and the Portuguese came over here destroying and ransacked, and the French, and they all took over, right? Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. So manifest destiny, which the so-called white man love to call it, it has a part two, meaning Gad will overcome at the last. And that's the part two, that the Israelites will overcome this oppression. And that's how the prophecy came to pass right there. They are oppressing the natives over here, which is of the northern kingdom. And so that's why they're on reservations today. And then in the barrios, which are the so-called Mexican, the Latin hoods, right? And also in the prisons, the border patrol, the CBP, the Customs and Border Protection. That's them oppressing the natives of the land. They took away their land, took away their fields, and they oppressing a man in his house and his heritage. So and also the little hats over there in our homeland, they took our land and they divided it up over there today. That's why you have Tel Aviv and all these other nations, all these other cities over there, the pink city, and we know what that pink goes into, right? The rainbow people. So look at Ezekiel 36:5. Therefore, thus saith the Most High Power, Yahweh B'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen. And that fire goes into ultimately that thermonuclear fire. And the residue of the heathen is the base man, the vilest race of people on the earth, the Esau Edomites, and against all Idumea. And Idumea is a Greek word for Edom. Idumea. See, Edom. Edom equals red. The red people, they're not white. Their skin is actually red. When they wear a red shirt, their skin they're different shades of red and pink. Their skin matches that red shirt far more than that white shirt, right? Have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea, which have appointed my land. What's the Most High's land? Israel, Jerusalem over there, the Holy Land, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart. So they're doing it with great happiness, with despiteful minds. Why? To do the Israelites wicked, to cast it out for a prey. So that's how they're over there. Because there's people over there. There's Israelites over there in the land, in the area called Dimona, over in Israel, and they're oppressed in that area, and the Israelis, the little hats, treat them like second-class citizens, the same way the Native American Indians, so are the tribe of Gad and Reuben and the Latinos, the same way they treat them like second-class citizens over here in the Americas, right? That's how they treat the Israelites over there in Dimona, which is over there in our Holy Land. So that's what that nobody else on earth fits the description of Esau Edom, and no one on earth fits the description and the prophecies of the Israelites other than so-called Blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. And verse 3, in Micah chapter 2 and verse 3. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh B'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, behold, against this family do I devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughtily. And haughtily means a high lifted up spirit. For this time is evil. So therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh B'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, behold, against this family, what family? The Edomites, the house of Esau, do I devise an evil. So we'll go to Ezekiel 35 and 5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. So our sins and our punishments and iniquity has been accomplished, but the Edomites, they have gone too far. They will never end and they will never stop, because why? They have a perpetual hatred against the Israelites. In verse 2, it says, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. And we know that Esau's mount is Sinai. I mean, is Seir. That's the mountain of the Edomites. Hairy or shaggy. That's what Seir means. Hairy or shaggy. And we know the hairy man of the earth is the Edomites. If they don't shave, they'll look like Bigfoot after about, give them 30 days, probably even shorter. They'll look like Bigfoot for sure. Like no exaggeration, they would. Romans 9 and 13. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. So that's the people the Most High hates, the Edomites. There's no other nation the Most High say he's hated but the Edomites. There's no other verse that says the Moabites have I hated. He hates wickedness and the sinners, but the Most High has a special righteous indignation and hatred against the Edomites because they're so blasphemous and profane. And we know the Most High loved the Israelites, the so-called blessed Latinos and Native American Indians. And going back real quick to Micah 2. So the Most High has an evil devised against them, against the Edomites. And it says, from which ye shall not remove your necks. What's that going into? Slavery and then destruction. Neither shall ye go haughtily, for the time is evil. So that haughtily goes into a lifted up, proud spirit. And there's no man on earth that's more proud than the so-called white race. They're proud of their evil wickedness, right? So they will be destroyed for that. Psalms 148:9, going to their necks shall not be moved. Shall not move because of that's hardcore bondage that they must go through for what they've been doing to us. The Israelites. Psalms 148 and verse 9. Mountains and no, that's not right. That's not it. The hell? Okay. Verse 8. To bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters and iron. So their kings going into, the top rulers of the government, the so-called President Biden, and then the Illuminati that rules the earth. And that's the nobles. And what's a fetter of iron? That's shackles upon the neck and upon their feet. That's slavery. Verse 9, to execute upon them the judgment written. This honor have all his saints. And that's an honor to put the heathen in chains, chiefly the Edomites. This honor have all his saints. Praise ye the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai. So we praise the Most High to have that honor and desire for our wicked oppressors and rulers to be put in chains because of their evil, hateful rulership and oppression that will never end until Yahweh Shai returns. So Jeremiah 50 and 31. Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud. And that's the haughty spirit. The most proud man on the earth or the Edomites. The Most High is against them. Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, saith the Lord Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai of hosts, for thy day is come, the time that I will visit thee. So we're in the time now where the Most High is visiting the earth. Everyone can tell that it's something that's abnormal going on right now. And that they say, oh, wow, this is This isn't normal, right? This isn't what they were expecting. They thought this place was going to go on forever, and now they're starting to kind of think that perhaps this is actual biblical things that are beginning to happen in the earth, and they don't want to think about it. They're afraid because they've been sown to the flesh, which is going to reap them destruction and judgment. But the Edomites, they have no chance for repentance, as saith the Most High Power, and the judgments are coming down, and they're going to intensify until Yahushua returns and be the greatest climax in history, right? And for the kingdom of heaven forever and ever. I just want to go into that real quick. I just want hope this video was edifying. The water to the Rachak Wadash for another video. Until the next video, I say, Bahasham Yahushua, Shalom.